So Morgan, it is almost wedding season coming up.
True.
Are you looking forward to that?
I am.
Going to some weddings? I think you've gone to a wedding recently.
I've gone to a wedding recently, and one of my really good friends and old housemates is getting married in July.
Awesome. What would you say is your favorite part about weddings in general?
Okay.
But then also the ceremony.
I don't know. I think I love that moment when you first see the bride. That always makes me cry. Even if I don't know the bride. It's weird. It's just like something about that moment is very moving to me.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I actually really like watching the groom.
Really?
Actually. I mean, I love seeing the bride too.
Yeah.
But the groom, like receiving this beautiful person.
Like how the groom looks when he sees the bride for the first time.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Okay. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Not when he just like kind of walks into the church. He doesn't get a grand entrance.
I know, it's true.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But usually the woman, in all of her beauty walks in and he's struck, and it's really a beautiful.
I love wedding receptions, I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a sucker for like a really fun wedding reception. Like dancing.
Oh, Morgan, you are a great wedding reception dance partner. Like out there on the floor. It's a lot of fun to dance at weddings with you.
Thanks. I try.
I would say that's a great part too. Just the celebration and
yeah, exactly.
That these two people have committed their lives to each other and that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very worthy celebration. I always feel like.
Yeah.
It's not just like going out clubbing. It's like you're dancing because like this incredible thing happened and these two people committed their lives to each other and are reunited sacramentally. Like it's so beautiful. And so like the joy is just like, I love that feeling of joy at a wedding reception.
Yeah. It's contagious.
Yeah, exactly.
You just want to be a part of their love,
Exactly.
So that's so cool.
Yeah.
And, I've heard couples say that like that's day one and it can just get better and better from there.
Yeah. I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Someone told me that recently.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Wow. That the wedding day was amazing, but it just gets better and better.
Yeah.
What I love about weddings is that usually it's kind of a reunion of people that you have known either, from like a certain era of your life. Like if it's a college friend, you go and you see all your college friends, or if it's a family member that's getting married, you see all your family members together.
Right.
I really love that part about it too. It's just a really beautiful way to get people together. Let's hold on to that. The love of weddings, the love of, the sacrament. And let's really hold out for, it can just get better and better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
I think we should talk a little bit more about that in this conversation today.
I agree.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
Cool.
Open your hearts, open up your hearts to Christ. Do not be afraid.
So before we continue our conversation today, we'd like to share with you some great opportunities that you can partake in through AWAKEN Catholic. One is that you can join the AWAKEN Nation. The AWAKEN Nation is a group of people who make donations to AWAKEN Catholic to help make this ministry possible. You can make a monthly donation. It's as cheap as a cup of coffee. And to do that, go to awakencatholic.org/donate.
And you can also join the AWAKEN app. The AWAKEN app is kind of like a social media alternative, and you can chat with people within the AWAKEN community, and you can also chat with show hosts such as Megan and I, and we're very happy to do that. Also, you have access to prayers and events and all sorts of really cool things. So to download that, you just go to theawakenapp.io.
So as we were saying, we were just talking about the joys of marriage, just the beauty of marriage, the beauty of weddings. And we really want to convey today in our conversation that marriage is really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
For lots of reasons. For lots of reasons that we want to talk about and just uncover and really just highlight for people who are listening. Marriage is contains such natural goods for people.
Yeah.
We kind of intuit that, oh yeah, this would be good for me to give my life to somebody, to have a family. maybe we can ask then the question of, do we really see this in our culture today? Like, do you think that this good, this natural good of marriage for family, for communion with another, to give your life away, to have children, to be in love, all the things, the beautiful things that we're drawn to with marriage, do we believe that in our culture?
Yeah.
You know,
That's a good
is
question.
that held? Because I want to say from just research and just looking into this that like the marriage rates are actually at kind of an all-time low right now.
Yeah, a record low in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a record low.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. It's really sad.
Hopefully we've gone up a little bit since then. I don't know.
2020 has gotten shaking people up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think COVID too, maybe. Maybe people are like, gosh, I got to get married now.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
COVID. What am I going to do? Get married. But generally, I think we want to affirm that as a trend, young people are not getting married as much, you know?
Yeah. I think in this podcast, we kind of want to ask the question, like, if this is so natural, which I think we have to say it is. It's so natural to fall in love with someone and to want to like give your life and to share your life with someone. If it's so natural, what's kind of covering over that desire, like that original desire for love?
Yeah.
What is kind of like alienating people from that desire, basically in our culture?
Yeah. Sure. I just want to add something. Speaking of the theology of the body, you just made me think of, this kind of fundamental desire, as you're saying. That's really what happened when Adam saw Eve, like in the garden, when John Paul II talks about the creation account of man.
Right.
That Adam is in the garden. He's good. He's happy. And then he sees Eve and there's no real distractions for him. It's just him. You know, it's kind of like just this like new raw experience for him to be in the garden, to see the animals. But then when Eve shows up, he's not as distracted by things. Like it's her and it's so clear. The scriptures exude this like clarity of, oh, this is what comes first. And this is what maybe I'm made for, to give myself in a way like this.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's like he has other things he's doing. Like he's like working in the garden. I think what's he tilling the earth? What do they do? What do they do before the fall? I think they
hanging out with the animals and
hanging out with the animals.
Tilled the earth. Sure. Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe grew some food.
Anyway. Okay.
It's in there. Don't worry. It's okay.
Definitely in there. But yeah, it's not like he was just like sitting around sort of like emptily waiting. But he did have this sort of this desire in him. And and then when she appeared, it was sort of like very obvious for him. There wasn't this trepidation of like, do I really want to be with this girl, or would I rather just like, I don't know, like still
till the earth?
I don't know. Like, is it more important to till the earth? I mean, Eve, like, there wasn't, this kind of like, trepidation in Adam, at least, it's portrayed. Yeah.
So I just wanted to make that point of just this fundamental desire and natural good that scripture tells us about, and that John Paul II alludes to in the Theology of the Body.
Right.
But going back to, this cultural trend, we would want to say maybe that this is a cultural thing. It's maybe in our experience, like a trend in America, but what about in the Catholic world too?
Yeah.
You know, is this something bigger than just a secular trend?
Right.
Are Catholics also, even though we do believe these beautiful things about the sacramentality of marriage, that it is a participation in God's love.
Right.
Is that enough, or is that enough to, I don't know,
to sort of kind of go against this trend? Yeah, I think that a lot of people kind of oversimplify it. At least, in my I don't know, experience and observation, oversimplify it to say like, okay, it's just a matter of people becoming Catholic and believing the right things about marriage, which I mean, obviously I think is really, really crucial and necessary. Like that needs to happen as well. But just something that I think I've just seen in my experience, like especially like being in DC and like the young adult scene, and like seeing that I think that it's still, it's not enough. Like there's something, I think a deeper kind of like wound in our culture, that like regardless of whether you kind of believe in marriage or not, there at least tends to be this, these fears surrounding marriage and this kind of apprehension about entering into our vocations now. So I don't think the Catholic world is exempt.
Okay.
And I think it's really like in this talk, I think we really want to explore like what's going on here. Like if it's not just a matter of like very simply like you become Catholic and then everything's fine and you believe the right thing about marriage and then you get married and have a bunch of kids. Like it's not that simple. So we kind of, we want to kind of delve into that, I think, in this talk.
With our conviction that marriage is so good, we act towards things and we choose things that we think are good naturally. That's kind of like what desire is in the human person. We act out of desire. We act out of seeing a bunch of things in front of us and saying like, I want that and I want that and I want that.
Yeah.
We don't tend to go towards things that we think are bad or hurtful to us.
Yeah. A threat
a threat. Exactly. We're seeking God in those good things.
Yes.
You know, we're seeking God. We're seeking a fulfillment that we can experience in this life. So I want to say that maybe, in fact, to put off marriage or to maybe not want to get married in this day and age is a perception that marriage isn't good.
Right. Yeah.
That basically like it's not.
Yeah.
And why? You know, why?
Exactly.
Why is that being maybe an experience now in this day and age?
Yeah. Yeah. So why do you think that people don't necessarily see marriage as good? I mean, even if maybe they think intellectually it's good.
There must be some sort of perception of, it not being good. In my experience, people are looking for beauty. They're looking for an experience of beauty. And I think with one cultural trend being just not seeing maybe like a compelling marriage,
right?
You know, in your life, that could be one thing. Okay. You know, with the divorce rate being around 50%, you know, that those experiences can then shape what we think is good.
Yeah. Right.
My experience of actually, can marriage last? Can it be fulfilling?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know,
a lack of witnesses. And I think that, I mean, just like from sort of being friends with people, and kind of hearing people's different stories, like I think that, there are like very strong Catholic people who do believe in marriage and really, in some sense, do desire it. But the fact that they've had these sort of wounds of not having a good witness of marriage in their lives, like either like their parents are divorced or like whatever reason. I think divorce is a big thing, but then also like just relational wounds. Like maybe your parents were happily married, but like I don't know, something happened when you were a kid and there's this kind of wound in your ability to relate to people. And so you can have all these ideas, you know, of, you know, marriage is good and like, I should want marriage, whatever, like, but those experiences hold you back. And this lack of like we were saying, concretely experiencing the goodness of marriage holds you back, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, those are great points, Morgan. I also just want to add, too, that as we're talking about these things, the realities in our culture surrounding marriage, this is just a human condition. So when we're talking about people who experience these things, who are, you know, in situations that might not be ideal, this is, you know, everybody's affected. Everybody belongs to this culture, and
absolutely,
we're all in it together, and there are issues that are much more complex than just saying like this happened and this goes into this box, or you know, to blame or to, you know, I don't know, just see it all as black and white, but to really look on these things in the light of mercy and
Yeah.
and just recognize that we're all in this together and we're working through it, you know?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
I agree.
But I want to maybe then go off of what you were saying about like being held back by wounds. So what do those wounds then practically look like? Like, how are those maybe played out? What would you say?
I think we see in our culture is like, there's this big fear in committing yourself in marriage of like, is this the right person? Like, is this the right decision? Like, yeah, basically this fear of messing up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like, I'm going to pick the wrong person because there's so many options.
Yeah.
There's so many people. There's so many beautiful people.
Yeah.
And wonderful people.
Yeah.
Like, I have to pick one of these for life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And even if I meet this person and like I fall in love with them, but I still think that there is just this, in our culture, there's this kind of like suspicion of that, like, oh, well, maybe it's not going to last, or like, maybe they'll change, or like, there's this just serious trepidation to committing yourself to a person and kind of limiting yourself in that way, because I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's this very suspicious viewpoint. I mean, I think you see that everywhere, just in our culture. And I think that, yeah, again, like the Catholic world is not exempt from that. Like we are also in the culture.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Yeah. I think that's a real fear that people have, even when you're, probably about to walk down the aisle. You're like, oh my gosh, these fears just, they come at all stages of the relationship, but this one is especially like messing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to add kind of my thoughts on this in terms of how to maybe see it differently.
Okay.
Like, as not messing up. Let's say, you have this fear, and let's say things are difficult, as they will be in any relationship.
Yeah.
You're taking two imperfect people and you're working out your salvation together.
Yeah.
Right.
It has to be difficult. It must be.
It must be.
Yeah.
So in response to, I'm afraid I'm going to mess up. I'm afraid of failing. I'm afraid that this is going to be too painful. I just want to say that the sacrament is greater. The sacrament of marriage is greater and measured more by what it is objectively than whether or not it's going well. I think we do have this sense of like, when something goes really well, or I'm succeeding at something, it's like, oh, that's clear. Like I'm flourishing, I'm happy, I feel peaceful. Those are important indicators, I do believe, of like when a relationship is going well. Yeah. I mean, peace generally is a sign that Christ is dwelling in you, right? You can feel that peace, that joy, that happiness with someone. This is going well. I don't think it can remain there, and that when we do have moments of difficulty with our spouse or with someone we're discerning marriage with, it doesn't indicate that marriage itself is bad, and that this is going to define the rest of your marriage too. Yeah. That this is one moment in a relationship, and it's a beautiful opportunity to learn how to communicate, how to solve problems together, how to learn about what it means to sacrifice for somebody or your wants. Those moments of trepidation, just, they can't, you can see them as good. You can see them as like, oh, fruitful. This difficulty with this person, or this difficulty with myself that someone else is experiencing because I'm a difficult person to be with sometimes, or whatever it is, can really like bear so much fruit. And so there's nothing to fear with messing up. I mean, I don't want to make it sound so simple because neither of us are married yet. So we're, once again, musings. Like we like thinking about these things, and we hope everyone can experience the beauty of marriage. And that's why we're talking about this.
We kind of studied it.
We
think about it.
Yeah, we think about it. The point is, that I don't want to make this sound like, oh, this is so ideal and easy.
Yeah, but even if you suffer, like, it's fine. Like, the suffering's very real.
The suffering is very, very real.
But I think I love what you were just saying, and I think like it really comes down to seeing your vocation and seeing this person that you're called to be with in the vocation as given to you by God versus thinking that it's all up to you to choose the right person.
Yeah.
Like all these options and like, I guess I'll choose that person arbitrarily or whatever, like, cause I think they're pretty or like, I think whatever, they're funny. And, but if it's all on you, then you're going to be in constant suspicion of like, did I make the right choice? Or like they'll do something that contradicts like, oh, I don't like that about that person, or I didn't realize this about that person. Like, do I really still love them? And that could happen, you know, for the rest of your lives.
Right.
I mean, you're never going to have, if that is your starting point, you're never going to have this like full certainty about a person.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do. Yeah.
It's impossible. A person is a mystery. You can't measure a person. I mean, if I'm called to marry someone, like, I don't know what they're going to be like in 20 years. They're going to constantly be surprising me with new things in good ways and bad. And I have to be willing to submit myself to that mystery. But I think that again, so if you're seeing it just as this is me who has to choose it's all up to me. Like, I don't know, you're going to feel paralyzed. You're going to feel unable to act, unable to make the move, so to speak.
Yeah.
But if you see it like what you were saying, I think you were kind of getting at, if you see it as given to you by God, it's like, I didn't choose this person. This person was given to me. This person came into my life. Exactly. Going back to the whole gift thing.
Yes. The gift theme and the theology of the body. Yes.
Exactly.
People are gifts to us, but yeah.
Yeah. If the person was given to me, once I make that judgment, I mean, you do have to go through a period of discernment. Is this person truly given to me? And you kind of have to verify that. But once you do that, you can look at the failings of the person and the sufferings that you endure in the relationship, not as something scandalous to your marriage, not as something that's going to call everything into question, basically.
Right.
But you'll see it as like, okay, this person was given to me. And so this suffering also must be given to me. And it's somehow for me. It's somehow for my good. And I mean, again, like this is kind of oversimplifying it. Like I'm sure like neither of us are married and like, you know, marriage is hard. It is hard. Relationships are hard.
Yeah.
And so it's not to say like it's all sunshine and roses and just like, oh, well, like it's great. Like suffering's great.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
But as Christians, we do believe that it can bear fruit.
Exactly.
It can.
Yeah.
It can bring you close to the Lord. It can bring you close to your spouse, even, you know, in those moments of difficulty or what. But yeah, that's just the experience of marriage in this state of man, right? In historical man, that John Paul II talks about after the fall. That's kind of the human condition that marriage can take on. It will most likely have these moments of suffering and purification, but it's all for good. It can be. It can be used for good.
Yeah.
I wanted to add something else, Morgan, about what you're saying about somebody who's given to you. You kind of, know that there's a givenness when you're discerning marriage with someone, and you think you might have, your spouse with you and in front of you, and you're making this decision. I think what helps too is like the security that I am called to this vocation. Like when you understand, oh yeah, I'm made for this. Once again, I see my vocation as good. I see marriage as a good vocation. And then I say, okay, well then, yes, like I know that this is for me. Let me see who God gives to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's like a freedom in knowing what you're called to.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And seeing that marriage is, once again, made good and good for me.
Yeah. It seems like you maybe are saying that maybe what could help this kind of trepidation that we have as a culture about marriage and these fears, is a better understanding of the just dignity of marriage as a vocation.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Like not just as like a good natural thing that makes us happy and whatever, love is great, but like it's a vocation, like it's actually a call to holiness. I mean, and that was one of the big things about John Paul II and his, in his thought and his papacy. Like it was really deepening this understanding of marriage as a sacrament and as a vocation. I mean, that wasn't always understood in the church, that marriage was a vocation, by the way. I mean, it used to be like, if you say like you have a vocation, that means like you're called to somehow being consecrated.
Okay.
And so really it's been in the past century, I believe, that this understanding of marriage is like a really positive call to holiness developed.
Yeah. And I just want to add to just a side note maybe about seeing the vocation of marriage as good. I think this also allows people who might be called to the vocation of celibacy to, like, there's a function of knowing that marriage is good, and then I can choose celibacy too. If there's a wound in marriage and you might be feeling like, oh, I don't want to be married, or that this wouldn't be fulfilling for me, then maybe if you're in the church and you're practicing Catholic and you want to do the Lord's will, there might be like a running from marriage to be celibate and to serve the Lord in that way.
I've heard a lot of people say that kind of thing, like vocation directors and all sorts of, it's like a real problem.
Yeah. Yeah. See, what, like I said, we always want to run towards something good. Like we're going towards something, not from something, not running from, but running toward. Yeah. So when called to the vocation of celibacy, you're really going from good to great for you. Yeah. You know, always that disposition.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a running away from like this thing that somehow, threatens me. But it's like, I recognize the natural good of marriage and like, I desire that. I mean, you should desire it, even if you're called to celibacy, by the way. Like, it's very natural to desire marriage and necessary. But you're saying, I feel called to give up this incredibly good thing for the sake of something even greater.
Exactly. Yep.
So really, healing this, like what we've been talking about, this kind of wound of seeing marriage as good. And that's kind of, like you were saying, holding people back from kind of acting on marriage is important, not just for people who are, getting married. It's important for everyone.
It is. Healing this in our culture is just like, it's a really big deal.
It's a big deal.
And we do this through desiring to have happy marriages and holy marriages ourselves and witnessing to that and just building this culture of, wow, marriage is good. Like this is a good way to live my life.
Yeah.
You know? And another fear I want to mention too, or maybe wound, is that maybe I will not only mess up, but I could just get like bored.
Yes.
Like there's so many options and things to do and things to see and experience in life.
Yeah.
That are desirable, especially with the ease of travel, the ease of just getting things in our country. Attaining things, the American dream. I'm going to go out and I'm going to make my life the way I want it to. Yeah. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing. Right. I think to really have experiences of good things and beautiful things in life is definitely good if you can, to seek those. But when
it's kind of instant gratification or this kind of like functionalizing of those goods is like, just like, I want more of this and more of this, like all the time without kind of like receiving them. Yeah. In their proper place, basically. Yeah. Not grasping at them. Yeah.
Not grasping at them. Yeah. And seeing them once again, like as goods, but somehow I think they can also overshadow this fundamental good of marriage as a beautiful way to live your life. So, maybe that's what I was mentioning too when I was talking about in the first part of our talk, Adam seeing Eve, and he wasn't distracted. He was kind of like new to the garden. He was just experiencing the garden. Yeah. There was no distractions. Like it was so simple. Yeah. For him to understand his desire for her. Because of his total integration with himself and total understanding of himself and who he is in relation to God, he just intuitively, naturally understood that to give of myself in this total, complete spousal way is ultimately what I'm made for. It is the greatest thing. Yeah. Yeah. This communication of love, communion of persons, as John Paul II would say. Like this trumps my tilling the garden, like we're saying, whatever he did. Whatever he did. Hanging out with the animals. Like those things are good and those things are necessary for man too. They're part of, a good Christian anthropology. But the communion of persons that you experience in a vocation, whether it's marriage or a life of consecration, and that would be exclusively with God, that you'd have that. You'd participate in the communion of persons, also in the church, but mainly with God.
that is what I'm most made for.
Mm-hmm.
That mirrors somehow how actually the love of God himself, the love in the Trinity. So it's, I mean, not to get like too theological, but I mean, I think that there is this theological basis, but also just like in our experience, I think, and that's what I was saying before, that I think that these desires are so natural, but I think in our culture, for lots of reasons, like they've just been covered over for some reason. And now we're just very confused. Like, what do we really want? And I think
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's part of us that still knows, like, I think there's still this longing and this like nostalgia for just like, like romance and, not in this like trite way, but just this like, almost like this, this like great calling of love, like to love and to give yourself is like such a beautiful, noble thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that that's still there, but I think there's a lot of suspicion on it now. Mm-hmm. And I think that people don't, as a culture, we don't believe that it's possible anymore. And so we kind of like give it a back seat and we kind of denigrate it. And then we put other, like our career or our pleasures, like, I don't know, getting cool, shiny objects, like making a lot of money, traveling, like all these things trump this gift of self, because we just don't see its dignity. We don't see its beauty. We don't see how noble it is anymore.
Yeah. And it's just one option among many.
Exactly.
Ways to live your life.
And we've probably been hurt by it before.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And once again, you and I are not exempt from these temptations and these things.
Yeah, for sure.
That's, I think, why we can be able to talk about it.
Because we in some way experienced it.
Yeah, we like breathe the air of the culture. These are real things that we all experience. But I want to respond to like this fear of being bored.
Yeah.
Or that this is one option and I'm missing out on life.
Yeah.
And I just keep thinking about how Christ makes everything new.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Christ makes everything new. So it's not necessarily like I'm married, I'm with this person, these people. It's a simple life. It's simple. Instead of going out and like finding new things.
That's a really good point.
I can actually, within one person or a few people in my life, like make beauty and newness and goodness in every moment, if I can see it.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to also what we've talked about earlier in this season about seeing the world as a gift.
Yeah.
There's a creativity that just is animated in the world, and every new moment can surprise you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every new moment can surprise you.
Figure out a person. I mean, a person is a mystery.
Yeah.
I think
that's what's
so
exciting.
Important. Exactly. And so it's very exciting.
And new.
Yeah. And always, like you're saying, ever new. But if you can see it with those eyes, I think if you can see it within your relationship with God and kind of ask every day, like really beg to the Lord, like show me something new, like kind of like reinvigorate this desire in me through all of my life, but like especially through my spouse, if I'm called to be married, like help me to see like the mystery of this person, not to reduce this person and think I have them all figured out. I mean, how frustrating is that when people treat you that way?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we do tend to do that. We all do. It's part of our, being affected by original sin, basically.
Yeah.
So
love is like that. Love is new and fresh and fun and useful, and it brings about that in a relationship. I often get to encounter older couples who have been married for a long time through my work, and what amazes me, it's so amazing. I feel like these people just hit me with like these beautiful witnesses of marriage, like what we're saying. Yeah. I always hear almost every time there's a couple, they're like really close and they love each other, and they always say, this is the best person in the world. Oh, like I am married to the best person in the world. It's the same thing. It's like
they've been married like 50 years, probably.
50 years, 60 years, 70 years, like a long time.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And that is possible. I just want to affirm that is possible. I see it.
Yeah.
And I know lots of our listeners see it too, in their lives. And I just like, what kind of life do you live with someone to make you say it?
This is the
60
best
years.
person in the world.
This is
Yeah.
the best person in the world.
And you see all their faults so
Yeah.
clearly, more than anyone else, I'm sure.
Right.
But you're still able to say, this is the best person in the
Yeah.
world. Like
Yeah.
that is so beautiful.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So I guess maybe like a final thought or question. What can we do about these wounds? I mean, we all have them. Like we were saying, these wounds or these fears that kind of hold us back from pursuing marriage and make us feel kind of like we were saying paralyzed. Like, I don't know if I'm afraid, I'm going to choose the wrong person, like whatever. What can we do about that? Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of like what we would probably say for everything. Like you have to you can't do it. You can't fix yourself is also like a really good point. Like,
Yeah.
You have to realize that you have to realize that these things, these wounds, like point you to your need for God, and you have to submit them to God, basically.
Yeah.
Submit them to God, surrender them. And I think, and then God will give you ways to work through them. He'll give you people too. And it's another good point is that I think that, we shouldn't fall into this idea that we need to perfect ourselves before we get married or before we meet the person that or before we start seriously dating.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people can kind of fall into that. Like, I'm not ready to date. I mean, there are some things that would make you not totally ready to date, but I think for the most part, it's that God gives you someone, and through your relationship and your willingness to suffer your own faults and the faults of that person, that is what will make you ready, basically. If your willingness to just give yourself and not kind of be prideful or be, I don't know, afraid, and like guarding yourself against this person and like the wounds that you're being confronted with, but just allowing them to be healed.
That's great. That's definitely good to keep in mind. I'm thinking too of using the Theology of the Body text to answer your question a little bit.
Great.
It came to mind that John Paul II talks about the sacrament of marriage in the second part of the book. And he really emphasizes like that marriage is sacramental, of course, like, and what does that mean? That when two people are married, the sacramentality of it allows grace to be poured into and like operate to work out salvation. We talked about that a little bit, mentioned that in this talk. You work out your salvation. You like you were just saying, you kind of see someone for what they are, and you work through it, through that grace, with the help of that grace. That grace comes from and is an analogy to Christ's love for the church, Christ's love for us. So that is, how we are meant to love our spouses. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And so this participation in this relationship, this grace from the Christ's love in the church, is like so abundant and available to us in this sacrament. I just keep thinking of just this bounty of grace and like this life that God wants for us. Just all these beautiful gifts for married people. And he's saying, all you have to do is receive and know that I'm here guiding you. Like just submit to me and I will, and beautiful things will happen.
Yeah.
John Paul II talks about in the book, part about the two married people having a reverence for Christ or fear. He says, be subject to one another in fear of Christ.
Yeah.
But we can use fear as reverence here.
Okay.
He explains it that it's actually a reverence to Christ. So when two people are saying, I'm going to submit to this love that I want God to give me in my life. And then that happens, and then the relationship just takes this beautiful form of participating in Christ's love for the church.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm getting like really theological here. But I do think this knowledge it can be practical. It can be practical to help people who are married or who want to be married to say, like, how can I get help here? Like, how can I make this beautiful? How can I make this good because I desire it so much? Like really tapping into and trusting like the realness of the sacrament, and a sacrament giving grace to the two of you.
Yeah. Wow. That's beautiful.
That's what I would say. I do want to say, like, I think there are, while like studying the theology of the body, I would recommend, it's a beautiful teaching. There are other practical things to know, to like tools to really, I think, be married well. Learning how to communicate, learning conflict management, like in discernment, learning the qualities that you can live with and what you can't, like learning what virtue is and how to have friends.
Yeah. How to have good relationships.
Yes.
Just generally. I mean, that's very, very important.
It is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. To know how to relate to someone in love and doing what's good for the other person, to sacrifice for the other person, all these things. So I do think while like studying theology of the body and understanding this beauty of the sacrament is so important, there's also like very practical tools of just human relationality that people could benefit from knowing, for sure, to really not be afraid.
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Well, I think that I am really hopeful for just seeing more and more beautiful marriages, and I already see them all around me in my community. So it's a very hopeful thing.
Yeah, for sure.
We just think people should get married if you're called to it.
Yeah. I agree. Today, what did Father Jeff say at Mass today? We were just at Mass. Today is the feast of the Good Shepherd.
The Good Shepherd.
And it's a day that traditionally you pray for vocations.
Amazing.
So it's really beautiful and providential I didn't know that beforehand.
I didn't either.
I did not know.
We showed up at Mass and the homily was all about the goodness of marriage and the vocations. But well, this has been great.
Yes.
Thank you for listening
on
our conversation today. We want you to remember you are great, you're good, and you're a gift.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
This show and all media on Awaken Catholic is made possible by the Awaken Nation and the Hallow app. The Awaken Nation is a community of people like you who support all things Awaken for as cheap as a cup of coffee a week and get access to exclusive content. Learn more by visiting awakencatholic.org/donate. Hallow is the only audio-guided Catholic prayer app focused on contemplative prayer and traditional Catholic meditation such as Lectio Divina, Daily Examen, and the Rosary. We here at Awaken all use Hallow every day and love it. To learn more or give it a try, visit hallow.app/awaken.